We are beginning a new chapter in social studies today. It's chapter 10, the Roman Republic. As you can see, there are 3 lessons in this chapter. So today we are going to deal with geography and the rise of Rome. And let me point out that I don't have it marked at the moment, but I will. As always, the songs are at the beginning of the chapter, so I encourage you to go back and listen to those while you work to help you learn the material. So lesson 10.1 is geography and the rise of Rome. Our big idea today is Rome's location and government helped it become a major power in the ancient world. There are 3 main ideas. The geography of Italy made land travel difficult, but helped the Romans to prosper. Ancient historians were very interested in Rome's legendary history. And once a monarchy, the Romans created a republic. So as you can see on this physical map of Italy, this is our boot-shaped country. And you can see Rome is about halfway down the western coast. You also have the islands of Sicily and Sardinia. You have the Alp Mountains to the north. And this is called the Italian Peninsula. You have several seas that surround it: Adriatic, Ionian, Ligurian, and Tyrrhenian. And you can tell that it's also a very mountainous country. You can tell by the map key just how tall some of the mountains are. Of course, your tallest are going to be in the Alps, upwards of 6,560 feet. And then if you'll see, you go down to sea level, which would be all of the green. So as you can tell, the geography of Italy made land travel difficult, but it also helped the Romans to prosper. So even though you don't have really high mountains, most of Italy is covered with hills. The Italians built their cities on top of the hills for defense. So we've already looked at the Alps. These created rugged land, which of course would be hard to cross. I mean, think about crossing the Smoky Mountains. Some of Italy's mountains were volcanic. Their eruptions could devastate Roman towns. They also built cities near rivers for a source of fresh water, of course, like all of our other civilizations. And Rome lies on the Tiber River. Rome had a mild climate that led to a plentiful food supply, which helped the early growth of the city. You're going to come back and you're going to watch this video on Italy's Geographic Challenge. So we don't know a lot about the really early history of Rome, but we're still very interested in it. So there are a lot of legends out there, and historians want to go back and try to piece it all together, but there are no written records which exist. So that's where all of these legends came up. They imagined the glorious past. People told these legends or stories. So we're going to talk about a couple of those now. This is Aeneas, or a painting predicting, looking like what they thought Aeneas would have looked like. And this was done in the 1700s by an Italian artist. So the Romans believed that they could trace their history back to a great Trojan leader named Aeneas. The Aeneid, which is an epic poem written by Virgil, tells about Aeneas' trip to Italy. And after the Greeks had destroyed Troy, he fled to Italy and he formed an alliance, friendship, with the Latins. He became a ruler in Italy after marrying the daughter of a Latin king. So that is one legend that exists. Here is another one which you probably have heard of, Romulus and Remus. It says this legendary founding of Rome, that Roman historians trace their city's history back to the legendary figures such as Aeneas, as we just discussed, and then Romulus and Remus. The Romans believed that the twins, Romulus and Remus, were descendants of Aeneas. And in this Roman legend, Romulus and Remus were rescued and raised by a wolf. Romulus later killed Remus and then built the city of Rome, of course, naming it after himself. So, that would be one of the legends of where Rome came from. Oh, by the way, Romulus supposedly killed Remus because he had mocked one of Romulus's idea for a city that they were planning. So, you're going to come back and you're going to watch the video that goes into more detail about Romulus and Remus. So please come back and watch that. So here is a map of Italy in the year 500 BC, or the generic 500 BCE, before Common Era. You can see Rome, and in this gold area around Rome, you had the Romans. This purple area, the Etruscans. And the pink area on the boot, you had the Greeks, of course. And this green area, even into Carthage, south of the Mediterranean Sea, you have the Carthaginians. So Roman records, this is when we actually have written records, list 7 kings who ruled the city. Some of them were even Etruscans. That's this group in purple. The Etruscans made contributions such as huge temples and even Rome's first sewage system, which would be nice. I mean, think about living without some type of sewage system. Some think that Rome learned the alphabet and numbers from the Etruscans. The last Roman king was said to have been a cruel man, and he had many people killed, until a group of nobles, remember the nobility, rich people, they rose up against him and they overthrew him. And they decided, this group of nobles, that they no longer wanted a king, that they wanted to create a new government. So this is going to lead to the Roman Republic. And here you can see a map from 509 to 270 BC. Remember, we're still counting down to the year 0, so BC/BCE. Here's Rome, and this was the Roman land in 509 BCE, and then that expanded to this whole purple area, which is basically the whole boot, to by the 270 BCE. So Rome started out as a monarchy with a king, but now we have a republic. So 509 BC, this is when the republic was created and when they elected officials that ran the city. They protected against anyone staying in power for too long, and they limited their terms to just 1 year. So let's talk about Cincinnatus for just a second. Cincinnatus is the most famous dictator from the early Roman Republic. And I know you're like, dictator, wait. Republics don't have dictators. Well, hang on a second. Cincinnatus wasn't eager to hold on to his power. And because of this, the Romans considered Cincinnatus like the ideal leader. They admired his abilities and his loyalty to the Republic. The early citizens of the United States admired the same qualities in their leaders. In fact, some people called George Washington the American Cincinnatus when he refused to run for a third term as president. The people of the state of Ohio also honored Cincinnatus by naming one of their major cities Cincinnati after him. All right, so this whole dictator thing in a republic. During difficult wars, the Romans chose dictators. It's not a dictator like we think of today. Kind of like what we discussed in Greek when we dealt with them. But the dictators in Rome were rulers with almost absolute power. They led the city, but they weren't like harsh rulers that we think of dictators being today. They could only stay in power for 6 months, and that was so they wouldn't abuse their power. In other words, become too big for their britches. And one of Rome's famous dictators, as we just said, was Cincinnatus. He quickly defeated his enemies, and he then returned to farming long before his 6-month term was up. So you're going to come back and watch the video on the story of Cincinnatus. So there were some challenges within Rome. We had the plebeians and the patricians. The plebeians were just the good old common folk, common people. They were made up of the peasants, the craftspeople, the traders, and the other workers. You know, the day-to-day life that made life go on. They called for change in the government to give them more say in how things were run. They also formed a council, and they elected their own officials. Then you had the patricians. The patricians held almost all the political power in Rome. Only patricians could be elected to office. And they feared that Rome would be split in two. So they decided it was time to change the government. You're going to go back and watch a brain pop on the Roman Republic. Make sure that you log in through ClassLink so I get your results. Watch the video and complete the quiz. And then after you view the image on the following slide, you've reached the end of lesson 10.1. So this just basically summarizes the difference in the patricians, the wealthy, powerful citizens, the nobility, and the plebeians, the common people. So the patricians, small minority, plebeians, that was the majority. Patricians once controlled all aspects of the government. The plebeians gained the right to participate in the government. And then after 218 BC, the patricians were not allowed, or after 218 BC, not allowed to participate in trade or commerce. That's what the patricians did. And then the plebeians, only Romans who could be traders. So many of the plebeians at that point in time became wealthy. So this is the end of lesson 10.1. When we pick up again with 10.2, we will get into government and society.